Hey, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Well, I hit a milestone today, which I want to share with you guys, and I turned 62 today, which is an interesting milestone because I have officially lived longer than any other male that I know of in my family. My dad died at 52 of a major heart attack. My other grandfather died of throat cancer when he was 59, and another grandfather died at 61 of a heart attack. So I have done something that no other guy in my family has done. I have lived to be 62. Now, you may be saying, yeah, you had a heart attack, and yeah, I did. And heart disease is not one of those diseases that you get overnight. It takes decades. And frankly, I earned my heart attack. Started smoking when I was 16. Thankfully, I quit when I was in my 40s. But still, I'd had 30 years of smoking. From 30 until 50, I was certainly pre-type 2 diabetic. I was never officially diagnosed as being a type 2 diabetic, but I was really darn close. And I was always overweight and yo-yo dieting all the time. And was up to 300 pounds when I had an acute case of appendicitis, and it took nearly 3 months for me to heal up from that one. I also had, other health issues, but the big one was taking a drug called Fen-Phen, which was a dietary drug that was very popular in the 90s. The only problem was it causes heart valve problems, and that's what may have actually gotten me this year, because it just destroys heart valves. But when I turned 50, I was down in New Orleans and started seeing a bunch of spots before my eyes. Went to go see my eye doc about it, and she told me that I had macular degeneration, and that she was, next time she saw me, she was going to have to start doing injections in the back of my eyeballs. And there's something about the thought of having needles in my eyes that really got me. I thought that I was just going to die like all the other males in my 50s of a heart attack. That didn't bother me so much, but the thought of needles in my eyes really bothered me. And I asked her, well, what can I do to stop that from happening? And she said, lose weight. And that's all I knew. So I tried Weight Watchers and everything else that I knew to do, and nothing was working. And I found out about bariatric surgery. So as a way of losing weight, I jumped on bariatric surgery and lost about 70 pounds. Went from 300 down to the 230s, and was pretty darn happy. Go over to my eye doc, and the macular degeneration had gone away, but the back of my eyes was still gummed up because I was metabolically unhealthy. I was still not healthy yet, but even though I'd lost a great deal of weight, but I was better. And I didn't have to get the needles in my eyes, so I was happy about that. Well, a couple of years later, I run across a guy by the name of Dr. Stephen Phinney, who's talking about metabolic health and low-carb eating. And that really got my attention because Dr. Phinney not only has his MD from Stanford, but he also has his doctorate from MIT in exercise sports physiology. So he had chops. And I really listened to him and started really researching metabolic health. I'd never heard of it before. None of my doctors had ever talked to me about it. None of them had talked to me about what I ate, which was really surprising, but that's just the way it was. And I learned as much as I could and changed my way of eating and started changing the way I exercise. Eventually, I even gave up drinking and a bunch of other stuff, and have worked progressively to make myself healthier and get myself out of the healthcare system, because really through from my 40s on, I was on about 10 medications because and they were just masking symptoms. I developed gout, so they prescribed me medications for that. Because of the excess weight, I got fatigued, so they give me ADHD medication. And that starts messing with my sleep, so I start taking sleeping medication. well, mess with your sleep, you start getting depressed. Then they put me on an antidepressant, and it keeps going on and on and on as we keep masking symptoms and not getting healthier. And what happened is, after I lost all this weight, I got off all the medications, and I felt much better. Well, let's move forward a few years, and everything is fine as far as I can tell, and I'm hiking in Tennessee, and I start getting really short of breath. I didn't know exactly what was happening, but it seemed bad, but I could have sworn it was like a respiratory infection. Well, that's really was my heart attack, but it wasn't like a pain in the chest. It wasn't the arm going numb. It was just more shortness of breath than anything else. And I put up with that for about a week and realized I've had it. So I went to urgent care to get some sort of antibiotic for this respiratory infection. They send me immediately to the emergency room. I go over there and they tell me, no, you've had a heart attack, Bubba. And they did some testing, and they said, look, your valve in your heart needs to be replaced. You got a couple of clogged arteries in the heart. We're going to do what ended up to be a quadruple bypass and a heart valve replacement. Now, I bring this up not to say that it was a carnivore that did it or anything like that. It was the decades of bad stuff that I did going into that. It takes 20, 30 years to develop the damage that is going to cause heart disease. But what happened to me after at 61, I have a heart attack and open heart surgery. What was the result? Well, within a couple of weeks, I'm back at work. I teach schools where I'm on my feet for 9 hours a day talking to a group without a microphone or anything else. And within 6 weeks of the surgery, I'm teaching a school. Within 6 weeks of the surgery, they took off the weight restrictions. I'm able to start lifting weights. I am lifting weights, walking, doing the things that I've been doing prior to having a heart attack. Kind of surprising a lot of folks that I work with that I'm back in the game, feeling pretty much 100% again, just weeks after having open heart surgery that took about 6 hours. And that's pretty much not typical. But I bring this up because, look, if you're going to have a heart attack, try to do it when you're healthy. And that may seem like, God, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, but think about it. Tragedy, trauma, bad things are going to happen to you. That's inevitable with life. There's going to be auto wrecks, there's going to be diseases, there's going to be viruses, there's going to be things that are going to hit you. And you're better off going through them when you're on the healthy side than the unhealthy side. Like I said, I had an appendicitis surgery. That was my only surgery prior to this. And that was a 3-month ordeal trying to overcome something as simple as an appendectomy. Why? Because I was metabolically out of shape. I was really fat. I was still smoking back then. And it took forever to heal. When you're healthy and you have something like this and you have open heart surgery that takes hours and you're back on your feet within a couple of weeks, that's pretty impressive. That's a change. That's a good change. And it's only possible if you're healthy enough to withstand it. And frankly, there's a lot of people my age that are getting their knees replaced and their shoulders done and all this other stuff, and they're out of the game for months. And it takes forever to recover because most of them are type 2 diabetics. They've got other health problems and they're on all these medications, and it takes forever to heal. I didn't. It didn't take me very much time at all to heal from having open heart surgery and bypass and a valve replacement. So And frankly, I've now lived longer than any other guy in my family tree. And I think it's because I've made this health changes over time. So this is kind of my birthday wish to everybody. Start getting healthier now before the inevitable bad thing seems to happen. And you're able to withstand it much better. You may not be able to prevent things that you've done. You may have made a lot of mistakes like I did for decades going into it. But the sooner you start to work to get healthier, the better your body's going to be able to withstand the inevitable bad things that are going to happen to you. And you can recover so much quicker, and it makes life so much better. And it is great to be able to live life to the fullest and not really miss a beat despite having bad things happen. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore, wishing you a very great day. If you like this message, please hit like and subscribe. Join this channel with other like-minded folks who are working to get healthier and trying to live their best life possible. I'm trying to put out a couple messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.